Blessings, everyone, and welcome to Heart to Heart. I have a little bit of an announcement to make. This will be the last Heart to Heart. Don't despair. It is just so that we can keep in the mind, body, and spirit framework. And I just felt that it's time for us now to move on to our bodies. So next week I will be starting my new series, Body Rhythms, and we will explore our bodies and the functions and the systems and what's great about our bodies. So that's next week. Now, today's topic, while I felt that I hit my mark with the relationship video, my subscriber let me know that she was actually looking for a little more in the way of abuse. She wanted to hear, I guess, a discussion about abuse. So what is abuse? By definition, abuse is the improper use of something, or it's the cruel and violent treatment of an animal or person. So there are about 3 different types of abuse that I know of anyway. There's verbal abuse, there's emotional abuse, and then there's physical abuse. So physical, of course, hurts your body. Emotional, of course, hurts your mind. And verbal abuse and also emotional abuse can hurt your spirit. So either way, none of it is good. Now, when I did a little bit of research for the topic, just because I like to know what I'm talking about, I found it interesting that most of the commentaries and most of the research and everything focus mainly on the victim. And I understand because they're being victimized. However, the thing that you need to know about abusive people is that they're also victimized. They're victims of their own fear and their own terror. And it causes them to act out in that way. They are searching for power or for control. And, probably they don't have any in their lives. They also can be children grown up in a household that, where there was a lot of abuse taking place. So while the victim needs to be protected, also the abusers need to be treated as well so that the cycle can be broken, because it's a cyclical thing. It's something that can happen generation to generation. And some of the research that I found was saying things like, children that grow up in abusive households either grow up and become victims of domestic violence themselves or abusers. Children, in domestic violence situations can also turn into bullies. So, they're learning from their environment. So abuse is not really good. Let's try and talk about the different abuses, briefly, just to get an idea. Emotional abuse could be something like guilt tripping someone. Emotional abuse could be something like withholding, threatening to leave a relationship or abandon someone. That's the type of emotional abuse. Anything that works on your heart, anything that someone says to you and you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta get out. I'm gonna lose them if I don't do exactly what they say. And that brings me to this. There's lots of times when you meet someone, couples get together, and one or the other will introduce you to a new lifestyle. Now, if you're willingly accepting the new lifestyle, then that's fine. That's great and it's wonderful. But if you're being forced into a new lifestyle and threatened into a new lifestyle, then that's not good. And that's not what you want to be. And as I indicated in my self-love and also in my relationships video, if you're your own source, then things like that are less likely to happen to you. The other thing that I wanted to talk about before I go over the rest of the forms of abuse is that abuse has no guidelines in terms of gender, in terms of ethnicity, in terms of economics, nationality. It really makes no difference. Sexual orientation. Anyone can be abused and anyone can be an abuser. And that's how you know that it's something from deep within, because it could be anyone. We've heard instances of, famous people who on the outside seem to have it all. And yet they're, in the elevators pummeling their spouses, or, in the elevators kicking their in-laws. So you see that it really has no set parameters of who is abused and who can be an abuser. So back to the types of abuse. Verbal abuse. That's any type of language that is demeaning, profound. It's anything that's said continually, that is made to destroy a person's spirit, to just bring them down. So that if someone is constantly being cursed at, like children, there's some children who are cursed out. That's the way that their parents parent them, and that can be considered a form of verbal abuse. It hurts. There's some verbal abuse that will hurt more than a punch. So that's verbal abuse. And physical abuse, of course, we know that's anything physical: restraining, choking, kicking, anything that is harmful and physical. Physical abuse, I don't know which one is the worst. They're all really bad. I know that physical abuse can also occur in nursing homes to elderly people, and it could be in the form of neglectful treatment, leaving elderly people in a bed too long, where they, start to get bed sores, things like that. So that's a type of physical abuse as well. So what does it all mean? It means that we need to start loving ourselves more. We need to start loving each other more. It's really unfortunate that we live in a society that I can't really say allows, but that allows abuse. It occurs far too frequently among people. And we need to change that. We need to start breaking the cycle of abuse. How do you know if you're being abused? For those that, want to know, check out how you feel. Check out how people talk to you. If it's one person in particular, if you have a partner, like I said, it has no sexual orientation. So it could be, any type of relationship. It could be a friendly relationship. If the person is speaking to you in a way that hurts your spirit, then chances are that's an abusive relationship. If a person is constantly guilting you into doing what they want you to do, that's a form of abuse. Check out how you feel when they talk to you. If you are gripped with a feeling of terror, most likely you're being abused. Abuse operates on fear. So that your abuser needs you to be deathly afraid. But if you are grounded and, have that deep, loving relationship with yourself that I mentioned in the self-love video, chances are you can detect a lot faster if someone's being abusive to you. And you probably won't go for it. So look at how it feels when they talk to you. Look at how it feels when they say things to you. Are they trying to control you? Are they trying to convince you to do what they want? Are they threatening you? Oh, if you don't dress the way I want you to dress, I'm not going to be your spouse, or I'm not going to be your partner. Or if you don't walk a certain way, I'm not going to be your partner. If you don't talk to these people that I want you to be with, then I'm not going to be your partner. Or if you don't get rid of these friends that you have, I'm not going to be your partner. Anything like that that's threatening, that's abuse. How do you know if you're an abuser? For those who are abusive, because there are plenty of women who are abusive. They are verbally abusive. to their spouses. They are verbally abusive to their children. So, most times when people hear abuse, we like to think that it's the men, but it isn't always men, and sometimes it's children. It could be children being abusive to their elderly parents in the home. So, how do you know if you're abusive? Check out how you talk to people. Are you constantly trying to get people to do what you want them to do? Do you feel a sense of terror if they don't do exactly what you want? Do you feel like you're powerless? If you feel like you need to control a certain person, then chances are you may be an abuser. So what to do? Reach out. I can't say to leave the relationship because there are different levels of abuse, and like I said, I believe in the human spirit and the mind, and I believe that anyone can change their behavior and change their ways, but they have to first acknowledge it. So you have to acknowledge it and then reach out. There are so many resources, you'd be surprised. But the thing is that about abuse is that it's very, it's almost embarrassing. No one wants to admit that they're not in control in their relationship, be it a friendship, be it, like I said, a loving relationship, a family relationship. No one wants to admit that that's actually happening to them. And so they secretly pray for a change, or they secretly hope that they can change the person. And I got to tell you, you're not going to change that person. That's something that's so deep inside of them that they may not even be aware that they are like that. So if you find yourself second guessing and saying, well, why would they speak to me like that? That's not right. That didn't feel right, or anything like that. Then, you may need to, like I said, reach out to people. There are resources. There's even hotline for those that may need it. Or if you know someone that's in an abusive situation, pull them over to the side and have a heart-to-heart with them. Sometimes they might just need to know that it's not as bad as they think and that they're not alone. I think victims of abuse feel alone, and that's why they stay there. They want to be loved, and they're, like I said, they're secretly hoping that this person is going to really love them the way that they might have loved them the first few seconds that they fell in love with them, and then they stay there and wait and hope that love, that glimmer of love, is going to come back, and it doesn't always happen that way. So again, if you're on either side of the spectrum, know that you can get help. There are resources for you. You don't have to live like that, and you don't have to be like that. Child abuse, if you know of someone that is being abused, some child that's being abused, tell a teacher, tell a doctor, tell someone. There are mandated reporters. Call up the hotline yourself. Maybe the child needs help. The thing about child abuse and animal abuse is that they don't really have a voice. They can't really reach out and say, help, the way that we would expect or think that they could. They're babies. They're babies and they're animals. So if you know of a child that's being abused, again, make that call. If you're not certain, call and say, I'm not certain, but I think, and these people are trained on the hotlines. They're trained to identify what is real abuse and what's not. And oftentimes we on the outside only see the tip of the iceberg, and there could be a lot more going on. Try to reach out. Let's try and help and love one another, and stop casting the veil of shame and making people feel shameful, because that's another thing. I've witnessed it myself. I've seen people snub their nose or turn their eyes when they've seen people, in the street. I've seen it. I grew up in New York. I've seen men beat up their women in the street. And yes, as small as I am, I ran in and I was like, hey, please don't do that. Someone help them. That was me. And, even as a child in a family like that, if there's a child in a family like that, they can put themselves in harm's way, because the child is, their instinct is going to be to protect their parent, whichever parent it is, and they might be in harm's way too. So we've got to stop it. We've got to take a stand, and we've got to help each other. It's enough now. It's enough. We can't just keep talking about it and talking about the people like, ooh, look at them, and snubbing up our nose. It could be any of us. It could be your sister. It could be your mother. It could be your brother. It could be, your grandparents. It could be your pet. You just don't know. And we need to open up about this topic and help people. If you suspect someone is in an abusive relationship, like I said, pull them over to the side and let them know, without making them feel embarrassed or shame, that if they ever needed you, that you could be there for them. And then don't expect them to just leave the situation. That's the other thing. I've seen that happen too, where people say, I'm not going to help her. I try to get her out of there and she wants to stay with him. Let her stay with him. No, you don't do that. Just assure that person that when they're ready, your arms will be open for them and you will give them all the help that you can. We have to stop. We have to really stop and help each other. That's basically it. If you like my videos, any of them, please subscribe to my channel so that you can be in my higher frequency loop. If there's ever a topic that you'd like to explore together, send me a message. I answer all of my emails and I answer all of my comments. And that's it. Thank you for watching. Again, if you enjoyed my video, hit like on the bottom there and be sure to subscribe. See you next week for Body Rhythms. Blessings.